Hello everybody, this is K. Elmer and this is another Carbon 60 video, and in this video I'd like to answer some questions that I've been receiving, go over some viewer comments, and share with you some really interesting information that I got in talking with Marten from Red Lion C60. So here we go, let's jump right in. First thing, disclaimers. I just want to make sure everyone's real clear. This is not medical advice. This is not a product endorsement. I do mention products, but it does not mean I'm endorsing them. I also don't sell any products myself, and I don't get paid to mention products or get paid to do videos, and I just really want to make that really clear to everybody. Also, too, there's links to pretty much everything I'm going to bring up in the video description below. So if you want to have, want to look up anything, just go down there and click that link, and there you go. So first question that I've been getting a lot of, which really is right here, is should I load and maintain, or should I just start taking it? That's a really good question. I covered dosing in part 2 of that 3-part video series, but really what's kind of coming from all of the research that I've been doing is it really makes a difference on whether or not you have detoxed before you start taking C60. And what I mean by that is C60 is a super antioxidant, right? It's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. So if you take C60 and you have never detoxed once in your 50 years or whatever of living, then it might not be a good experience for you. And what I mean by that is if you detox too fast, your body won't know what to do with all the crud it's releasing into your bloodstream. So you might want to take it slow if you've never done anything. However, if you're someone like myself for over 10 years, 20 years, I detox constantly by taking in massive amounts of antioxidants and doing detox types of things like clay and so forth. So if you've been detoxing and you're pretty good, then then you by all means, then I would say kind of duplicate the rat study, do a load up and maintain dosage thereafter. Or if you just want to be careful, and I recommend everyone take the conservative approach at first, just to see how your body reacts to it, is just start taking it slowly and then see how it goes. And then if you want to load and maintain later, that's totally up to you. So along those lines, I did want to point out that there's a couple of helpful instructions out there on the internet that I ran across, and one of them is for the load and maintain. What the folks here at LivePet have done, and they're the makers of the Champie 60 brand, is on their label, and in fact they're the only ones that actually have any instructions on their labels, which is really nice, and they actually have the ingredients list too, just like an actual regular product you'd get at the store. Is they have this little section right here on recommendations. Now I do want to point out it's recommended dosing for dogs. If you've seen the LivePet guys, they've been on Sarah Westall's YouTube channel, and they've been interviewed. Pretty much the product for the animals, dogs and horses, is just as much you could take it as a human, clearly, because we're all mammals, right? So, but this is their quote product for dogs, but it's the same if you were to be a human. And what they've got is their load starting dose, which is a load up, and you can see here, just an example, the 80 to 100 pounds would be 3 teaspoons a day, as opposed to maintenance dose, which is half of that. So what they do is you load up, you take a bunch at first, you do that for the first week, and then you reduce it to half, which is sort of like how they did it in the rat study. And so this is really helpful. You can go to their website, click on products, and it's going to be right there on that page. You can pop it up and take a peek at it, and there you go. So this is kind of some advice, and again too, I want to mention, just like on this one here, is that just always recall that the rat study was a study to see how much C60 they could give a rat before it died. I mean, it was a toxicity study. And so what all of these manufacturers have done is they've tailored it back, because clearly you are not going to try to figure out how much C60 it takes to kill you. And so they've actually scaled it back. I'm not sure what the scaling back of this particular amount is, but right here if you just wanted to start taking it, the other resource I want to point out to you is right here. And this is what all the vendors have done, is they've done a thing called allometric scaling. They've just basically said, all right, well, if they gave 100%, whatever that amount was, equals 100% to the rats in that rat study, then we'll just scale it back to 30%. So it's 1/3 of the dose that was given to the rats, and they call that allometric scaling. I believe, obviously, this is allometric scaling, but I don't know to what percent it is. I haven't done the math on that. But right here, for this other helpful little thing that you might all really like, which I thought was cool, hard to find though on their website, but if you go to Bucky Labs website and you go all the way to the bottom of the page, there's this little link right here that says dosage calculator. You'd think it'd be like up here, but anyway, so you have to kind of find it. I found it by accident. And so basically they have a dosage calculator, and if you read all the stuff, they do here, right here, see, factor of 30%, allometric scaling. There you go. They did some math, but they built you a calculator, really simple, because not everybody's exactly the same weight, And so just for an example, let's say if you're a 200-pound human being, or dog, or horse, that'd be a really small horse, by the way, and you're going to take it 7 times in a week. You're going to take it or let's say you want to take it twice, you want to take morning and night. But anyway, so 7 times a week, right? And you've got this the 30 milliliter bottle or the 60 milliliter bottle, because they're giving dosage recommendations by dropper. Then you go ahead and click this button, and right here, there you go. So if you're going to take a dose, you weigh 200 pounds, you're going to take it once a day, then they're recommending, this is their calculation, is you would probably take 3.3 dropper squeezes per dose, right? Really helpful. And you can change this all up if you want. You can go, you can basically go, if you're going to take it twice a day or once a week. There's actually, I'll point this out later in the video, but a lady that was actually taking a whole bottle every Sunday. That's how she did it. So everybody does it differently. Don't feel bad, whatever. But this little puppy right here is very helpful if you just want to calculate the dose based on allometric scaling, as opposed to trying to use like some kind of a chart and do the math yourself. So really helpful. Of course, the only thing that's kind of limiting is right here is the dropper. It only measures off on 2 different bottle sizes based on the size of the dropper in the bottle, right? And so it's not really like saying, hey, how much should you take? But if you did pay attention to this little section right there, okay, they're just saying, hey, that's how many milliliters of the solution or the oil to take. So if you just figure this out, if you do some math, that's like I think it's around 5 milliliters per teaspoon. Is if you're just going to use a teaspoon kind of a thing. For me, I've been doing this like 6 months now. I just squish it I just pour it onto the dog food. I just squeeze the bottle and I just pour it on the dog food, or I just pour it right into my my protein shake. So I don't really measure anymore, but if you are, then this is kind of be helpful for you. Okay, so that might help. Next thing is how to take it. Now, this was a really interesting viewer comment I really wanted to share with everybody, and I'm so sorry for the individual who shared this with me. I'm so sorry I didn't mention your name. I couldn't find it. I took notes, but I forgot to write down who gave me these comments. So if these are your comments, thank you very much. Thank you, because what this is all about, right? Is sharing how things are going. So this is a body of work that we're creating, and everybody's experiences are really helpful for everybody else. No, so what this individual basically shared in the comment sections of one of my videos was that when we research liposomal products, we find they must be taken on an empty stomach. If our stomach isn't empty, the liposome combines with other food and goes through the digestive process. It's still good for us, but we will not get the benefit of the liposomal delivery. So that's really interesting, but this is what's better, is the part where he says a liposome will pass through an empty stomach into the small intestine, then through the wall directly into the lymphatic system, into the liver, then out to the body in the bloodstream. It's quick, and this is what counts. This is where he says, and this is what's really cool, is he tested it. I made liposomal niacin using lecithin. Boom, hot flash. For me, niacin in pill form took 12 minutes, but in liposomal form only took 5. So that's a remarkable, intelligent, awesome way to find out whether or not it works and how it works and what's the best way it works. And there you go. I think this was a great comment. And like I said earlier, just a couple seconds ago, I actually been dumping it into my protein shake every morning, and now it's like, scratching my head. Maybe I should try it on an empty stomach and see what happens. So that's something I plan on doing to see if I can. Well, I've got to be able to handle taking it straight. If it ain't coconut oil, it's pretty hard for me to just take a shot of the olive oil. It doesn't taste that great, but good information. He's got it tested here. This is the recommendation. Keep that in mind. Good stuff. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Now we talk about oils. Then this is where I kind of had this really cool conversation with Marten, one of the I assume one of the founders of the C60 Red Lion brand in the UK, and I got some great information from him, and I think it's just really good stuff. So I want to share this with you. And one of the things, and by the way, you can go to his Twitter page and you can read this. He's got it all on there. But I just take the excerpts here. And one of the things that I wanted to share was when he says that we are the manufacturer of C60 olive oil and have done extensive research on oils, their solubility and distribution throughout the body. Okay, so So here's somebody who's studied it. He hasn't put out a scientific study that we all can share, but his comments I think are valuable. He says the high quality olive oil is the only oil which delivers C60 product to every cell. Not even low-quality olive oil will do that. And as any great scientist, he's actually proved it by studying it. And he's got some numbers here, and what I think are great. These are all, now these other, he says, here are the solubilities, grams per liter, figures for. Because remember now, if you guys are buying a product, or you're making, especially if you're making it at home, the holy grail of making C60 oil yourself is you want to use up as much of that C60 powder as possible. You don't want to leave it on the inside of the flask or the bottom of the ultrasonic, or you don't want to waste it. It's so expensive, but it's also the fact that you want to take it into your body, and the only way to do it is if it dissolves into the oil as a liposome, aside from the fact that it could just be suspended in the oil and floating around, not as a liposome, but as more of a as a little just specks in the oil. Okay, so if you drink it as a speck in the oil and it hasn't formed a liposome, you're not going to get as much of a benefit. But if you take it as a liposome, it will. So you're looking for an oil and a process to basically, quote, dissolve and make it all into liposomes, right? And so this guy studied, and he gave me some numbers, and these are different olive oils that he says that has been tested. And I asked him, how did you test it? And he said through HPLC, which is high performance liquid chromatography. So he's obviously got the equipment that I kind of don't have, obviously never will have, but he's got the equipment, and he's able to actually tell which oils do the best job of suspending, or not suspending, but dissolving the C60 in it, to give you the biggest bang for your buck on when you're using C60 powder and making your own, or also something to think about when you're trying to buy a product that's got C60 in it. And so this is what's interesting, is he's tested these 4 that he showed me, and look at this one. There's this one olive oil brand, or olive oil type, that has a solubility 5.97 grams per liter. That is huge. If you remember from my 3-part video series, I mean, the rat scientists, they weren't out trying to figure out the best C60 oil they could make, right? So they were just trying to poison rats with C60. So they weren't as focused on trying to make the best product as they could. So they just got some of the they used a olive oil derived from Kimlali, Tunisia, right? It's Kimlali olives from Tunisia is what they used, and that's just what they used. But here's an individual who's actually tested various oils, is stating that olive oil is literally the only oil that does the C60 to every cell in your body that could deliver it. And he's tested various different types of oils, and here you've got one that's literally almost can hold 6 grams per liter, which is amazing, because if you remember in the RAP study, what did they say? That they only could hold 1 gram, actually 0.8 grams per liter. That was their solubility factor for the oil they were giving the rats. But here you can get 6 times that using this oil. But what's even more interesting is if you read his website, he uses olive oil pressed from Coronecchi. I don't know how to pronounce that, but those are the olives that he uses. And so I always usually I love finding really smart guys who've done all the testing themselves, have the numbers to show it, and I kind of like to, kind of copy that. So right now I'm going to finish up the can of oil that I've got, but my next purchase is going to be this word that is, and I'm going to be using that oil just to see how that goes. So I thought that was really interesting. Wanted to share that. The other thing that Marten from Red Lion had to say, which is equally as important, and I think this is something that's undoubtedly, something we all should be thinking about, is the reality that, when you look at lipidomics, will show many oils to be the main lipid source for the body, but olive oil has a high content of MUFAs, particularly octadenic acid and oleic acid. We have tested dozens of oils and solvents, but the solubility is not the problem. It's a lipidomic problem. And he's got some links here to basically back up his claim. Links are in the video description below. So remember now, we're taking C60 for those of you guys making it, and the manufacturers themselves. They're taking C60, they're putting it into a fat in oil, and they're subjecting the oil to an energy source, either through stirring or ultrasonic shaking. And they're creating this thing called a liposome with right inside is going to be the C60 molecule. So this is what's really interesting, because I've been storing up and collecting tons and tons and tons of science studies, and he's hitting on something that I just recently was reading, which is the idea that when you create these liposomes, that you're that the possibility that the C60 molecule by itself, if you were just to drink it in water, would maybe possibly be toxic. But because you wrap a fat cell around it, it becomes not toxic, because it becomes a separate compound. It's an actual, you've actually changed it, and it's become something different. And that the idea of how well C60 works may not be just for the fact that just taking C60 raw, like a powder, but the fact that you put it into a fat cell or a liposome, and you actually create a new compound. And the issue here at this point is not so much how well C60 absorbs into the olive oil, but more so the biggest challenge of making sure that you get the most benefit from C60 in oil is that how your body absorbs that fat cell or that fat liposome. So that I think it's a real I'm going to be doing a lot more study into lipidomics, because I think that he really hits on a flag here, that really the idea is not so much how well you make the solution, which is important, right, but the fact that how well does your body absorb it. So real interesting stuff. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Wanted to share it with you because I know that all of you guys out there are interested in this stuff. You're taking it, so obviously you want to know more about it. So now the next thing is on using ultrasonics. I chatted with him about this, and this is some great information, because I'm always out to try to improve how I make it. Talking with Marten from C60 Red Lion, he says, if you're using ultrasonics, I know this might be difficult, but to try to find an ultrasonics machine of 28 kilohertz or lower, not the normal 40 kilohertz, which is the machines I have been using. And then he says, and he gives you the secret sauce, 21 kilohertz is excellent. And that's amazing. And then he warns you, and further on along the conversation, he says, beware, that timing is critical. And these are my words, I forgot what he wrote. But he basically says, liposomes will break apart if you're subjected to ultrasonics for too long. So, real important part. And so, you know, this was great timing, by the way, when I had this chat with them, because that first one broke, if you remember from my video. And so I had to use that little jewelry clean little white one, but I had a bigger blue one. And that one broke on the first try. So I was about to order my new one, and when I read this, or when he and I chatted, I was able to, and he actually makes a comment here that's difficult to find, and he's right. I had to look at about 20 different models to find an ultrasonic machine that I could get as close to 20 as I could. I actually finally found one, and I think I found it on eBay, and I went ahead and bought it. It's like $119 with $20 shipping. That actually it goes 20 kilohertz or 40. That's as close as I could get to 21. But you know, I'm using, you know, off-the-shelf equipment, not scientific lab equipment, so I can't tune it to a specific frequency, but I think it's really it's close. It's 20. And so I've got my new ultrasonic cleaner this week. I'm really excited to start using it, and I'm really going to be start making ultrasonic C60 oil, olive oil, using 20 kilohertz, and see how that goes. Also too, I did get some really great comments from viewers about when I did my CBD video about putting a glass flask in an ultrasonic machine. The viewer was adamant, and I want to share this with that. Don't put the flask straight on the bottom of the machine, because that's where the I forgot the name of those things inside the jewelry cleaner thing, transducers, I think. When those things vibrate, you know, that could literally shatter the glass. So two key takeaways was, one, use the basket. All those things have a basket they come with, so put it in the basket so it's not literally sitting on the bottom of the ultrasonic machine. And the second thing that I want to add to that is always use lab glass. Do not use like a glass out of your cupboard. The glass flasks that you've seen in my videos are those borosilicate glass flasks that are made for labs, or made for high temperatures, low they're not going to crack very easily. They can take a lot of wear and tear, just like whatever that other product is that we all have in our house, right? So so just make sure you use quality glass products, put them in a basket, and don't go too long. So, you know, I was thinking about what is too long. Couldn't quite get it out of him. I know that, you know, this is all his secret sauce, so he didn't want to share it with me. So, but I think that I'm going to be doing my next batch, and I think what I'm going to do is really watch it really closely. By the way, my new machine, I can set the timer for as long as I want, which is great because I don't have to keep running back to it. But I'm thinking that I'm going to watch it, and I think that right at the moment that it turns dark, just let it go a little bit after that and stop. That's my guess. I'm guessing here, but I'm going to give that a try. And lastly, I want to point this out. This is real interesting. He did mention that Red Lion mixes their product for 3 to 4 weeks. I was like, wow, everyone else is like doing 2 weeks, but this is amazing. So, because he's the only product that actually turns red. Apparently, if you keep going after the 2 weeks and you do it just the way he's doing it, the actual oil turns red, which is, if you know what the color spectrum is, everybody uses whatever they're doing and they make this oil and it turns purple. Well, try to imagine he's figured out a way to keep going so that it goes down the color spectrum from purple and gets to the red. So that's really interesting stuff. I mean, I was really delighted to be able to have this conversation with this guy. And the last thing I want to share with you, what I got from Marten, was pulverizing the C60. And this is what was real interesting, because I just finished making a batch and I was looking at the flask, and there's all these little like grains of sand inside the flask after I poured it out, and I hate wasting the C60. And then I thought to myself, wow, these little grains of sand are basically clumps of C60 molecules, right? A C60 molecule is invisible to the naked eye. So if I can see these clumps, they had to be these giant clumps of C60 all clumped together into a little grain of sand, And I was like, oh man, all that, it's like, this is basically, you're going to throw this away, and then it's not going to dissolve because it is a grain of sand. So I was thinking, I should try to crush it up, because I have a mortar and pestle, I have a rock one. And so I was thinking, well, why don't I actually bought a porcelain one that's smooth, and I was going to start pulverizing the C60 powder before I added it to my oil. And then all of a sudden I have this conversation with Marten, and he confirms what I was thinking, and I was like, oh cool, this is great. He's confirming what I was thinking, which was, that you need to, it'd be a good idea, and you quote need to, you should pulverize it, and grind it down to like literally, like the feeling or the quality of, or the consistency of ash, I think is the best way. And so basically he did say it. So he goes, because I was chatting with him about it, and he says, well, it's important to grind. Asterisk, very important. Maybe that's how you get to be red. Grind it in oil for an oxy-free environment. So he says, this is what he says. It's really important to grind it, right? Obviously to get the most out of it. But then he also warned me too that it was really susceptible to oxygen as well as light. So make sure that you've got the whole thing in a little bit of oil so that the C60 doesn't touch air, and while you're pulverizing it. And so he actually says that he pulverizes. He's apparently got some kind of machine that does this. And he says, we pulverize the C60 millions of times over a week, and pulverizing it increases the frequency of C60, whole nother subject. And I might sell this, he says, I might sell this pulverized form of C60, not in the oil, if I thought people would buy it. So I actually did hit him up for it. I was like, well, sell me some, and so he says he's going to be setting some aside for me in his next batch, and so I'm going to buy a couple of grams and start using his. I've been buying the Bucky Labs powder, but man, if I could buy it pre-pulverized for roughly the same price, I don't know what the price is yet, but that would be awesome, cool, because it'd save me a huge step, and obviously you get a lot more out of it. So real information, real important information, just sharing. Okay, now next, let's talk about the other thing that's coming up constantly, and if you if you basically been listening to the interviews, you know about this already. But combining C60 with hydrogen, basically you get a huge kick up in the performance or the benefit of it. And so again, just like my CBD 660 oil video, if you take a look at the benefits of C60, just go to Google, type in health benefits of C60, health benefits of hydrogen, and boom, all these lists pop up, right? And so like you can see where there's a huge partnership that goes on between these two. They're clearly both antioxidants, obviously, right? And so they both kind of do the same thing, if not exactly the same thing. So as Aristotle once said, that it's greater than the sum of its whole parts. But that's kind of the idea here, that, okay, well, that's what people are saying, is that if you use C60 and you drink oxygen, hydrogen suspended in water, you're going to get a huge puff up in the reaction you're going to get, or not the reaction, but the performance of the supplement. And so, and this has been proven over and over. For me personally, when I take C60 by itself, it's okay. But man, if I'm drinking hydrogen water all day long, it's just an amazing energy boost that you feel. I mean, and everybody I talk to that does that says the same thing. So. And one of the reasons that's is a hypothesis, because I couldn't find any specific research about this. It's just people talking about it and people doing it. But I did find something that I kind of want to point out some of the logic. You can chew on it. Anybody finds any research on this, please share it in the comment section. But the idea here is that when you take a look at the size of antioxidants, okay, and you've got your regular antioxidants, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, glutathione. These are all, I take all these. I've been taking these for years. Obviously, vitamin C. You've got this carbon 60 molecule. It's 60 atoms. This is 176, so it's 1/3 the size of vitamin C. But then when you think, hey, wow, molecular hydrogen, H2, right? So it's 2 atoms. It's 1/30th the size of a carbon 60 molecule, and carbon 60 is literally 1/3 the size of a vitamin C. So it's really this little tiny guy right here. And so the hypothesis is that these little hydrogen 2 molecules, if you got C60 in your body and you drink in hydrogen water, these little molecules get trapped inside the carbon 60, and because carbon 60 can breach the blood-brain barrier, it can go through the walls of everything that you've got, and it literally can, hydrogen can just literally leave your body right straight through your skin. It goes through glass. You can't contain it. If you have it in a glass jar, it's going to seep out through the glass. It's so small. But the idea, though, is that what happens is these two basically help each other and help your body. Okay, that's the theory, the hypothesis. And you can kind of tell, well, maybe that, what they're saying, that this little dot here, which is a hydrogen 2, could get stuck inside this, and as this travels to your body, maybe something to think about. So one of the things I want to share with you was I went kind of like looking, okay, where's this research on this? And I couldn't find anything. But I did find this really cool little video. Whoop, and it's not working. Okay, here it goes. This cool little video, and this is what's cool about it. This is a simulation of a helium atom inside of a Bucky ball or a C60 fullerene molecule. And I think what's interesting is it kind of just gives you a visual of what it looks like. I'm gonna turn off the crappy music here. So this is kind of like the simulation. So the idea here is that the molecule, the H2 molecule, this is a helium one, a little bit bigger than an H2 molecule, gets stuck inside the C60. And as it's in there and it's trying to, basically trapped in there, the C60 molecule is taking it all over the body because it can cross all the different barriers and it can literally be a delivery mechanism for the H2. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now this is, oops, I just turned it off where it got stuck there. And so there it's kind of like bouncing around inside the C60 molecule, can't get out. The little blue jelly balls here represents the van der Waals, the radius, the atomic radii of the little mini solar system that each atom is. And so you basically have this little ball of a molecule, and you got another molecule trapped inside of it, and that molecule right here is able to cross the brain barrier and deliver this thing. I think that's fascinating. I think it's a kind of a cute little visualization. It's the only thing I could find that can kind of describe or show what process might look like. But I think it's pretty cool, and I think it has some it has some possible delivery mechanisms that no one has ever thought about before. So that's possible. One way of doing it to deliver. Hey, one of my videos popped up. Anyway, so it's one possibility for you to consider. If you want to amp up your results. So again, think about that, combining with hydrogen. And just lastly, right here, boom, right there, the best source of H2, apples. Just eat an apple after you take some C60. Okay, and if you want to get fancier, you can get the little machines that make it, or use the pills. I can actually do a video on that later if you want. Let me know if you do. But the idea here is apples are an awesome source of hydrogen, and definitely something to do with C60. Hey. That's what I'm learning. Now, next thing is I want to just share with you some information. Okay, so before I end the video, a couple of things I really want to point out so that you guys are out there researching 60 and interested in 660. There was a great, awesome, fantastic interview with Phil Catalano and Max Champie from the folks that make Live Longer Labs C60 in olive oil. They were interviewed by a guy from a company called MagnaWave PEMF, and he interviewed these two guys on February 27th. And in this interview, I mean, it's link below. It's awesome because you know what? He doesn't just talk about his product and help, you know, and his testimonials. He actually there's a segment in here where he brings on a doctor who has eye problems, and she actually has all of her scans or whatever her test results are showing her before and after of her. You know, this is the lady taking the one whole bottle every Sunday. A macular degeneration, that was it, of her eyes, and basically she took C60, and you can literally see she shows the actual results of how C60 has reduced her degenerative condition down to where she's practically normal. And that's amazing because that's what we're missing. And everyone's talking about how great C60 is, but nobody's proving it, okay? And so here's some proof. If you need proof, watch this video. It's a great video interview of the two guys from Live Longer Labs. So please, you know, if you're interested in C60, boy, don't miss that interview. That was a good one. And then lastly, I just want to let everybody know that I had recently updated my C60 price guide. I started doing this back last year, I think November or something, just for me and the people I know that were shopping. Everyone kept asking which one's the quote best one, what's the cheapest one, and that sort of. So I threw together a pricing guide, and I split it off this time into C60 just olive oil, so you can do a apples to apples comparison, or oil to oil comparison, I guess. And then all the C60 products in other oils, because it does come in coconut, avocado, and sunflower if you're interested in that. But here are the olive oil guys, the other brand, other types of oil guys, and I do you know, it's aligned by price, so you can see right here by the best price per ounce, you know, what's the least expensive brand all the way down to the most expensive brand, and what different sizes it comes in and how much, and what they claim on their websites is the amount of C60 in the oil and the purity of the C60 that's in there. And what's real interesting is since November, I'm sorry, well actually since the last time I updated the price guide was January 3rd, I'm keeping an eye on the market. And what's real interesting is that the average price per ounce is now $11.14, and that's down 13.3% over the past month and a half or 2 months. So, you know, over since November till now, the market price of C60 in oil is going lower and lower and lower because of increased competition and higher demand to grow the industry. So that's a really good thing for all of us who are taking C60, because clearly it's really expensive, right? And so now the prices are going down because more people are buying and there's more people out there selling. And so, hey, this is really great. Link below if you want to take a peek at this. But if you need some help picking out which oil you want, then there's a pricing guide that I create that can help you. That's it. Hey, you know, thank you very much for sticking out this video with me. I really hope that the information I come up with is beneficial to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. So aloha, thank you very much, and have a great day.